Second Landing. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Linda Dodge. Second Landing by Floyd Wallace. A gentle fancy for the Christmas season. An oft-told tale with a wistful twistful of something that left the earth with a wing and a prayer. Earth was so far away that it wasn't visible. Even the sun was only a twinkle. But this vast distance did not mean that isolation would endure forever. Instruments within the ship intercepted radio broadcast, and within the hour early TV signals. Machines compiled dictionaries and grammars and began translating the major languages. The history of the planet was tabulated as facts became available. The course of the ship changed slightly. It was not much out of the way to swing nearer Earth. For 2 days, the two within the ship listened and watched with little comment. They had to decide soon.
"We've got to make or break," said the first alien.
"You know what I'm in favor of," said the second.
"I can guess,"
said Ethaniel, who had spoken first.
"This place is a complete mess. They have never done anything except fight each other and invent better weapons."
"It's not what they've done," said Bal, the second alien. "It's what they're going to do with that big bomb."
"The more reason for stopping," said Ethaniel. "The big bomb can destroy them. Without our help, they may just do that."
"I may remind you that in 2 months, 29 days, we're due in Willifors," said Bal. "Without looking at the charts, I can tell you we still have more than 100 light years to go."
"A week. We can spare a week and still get there on time."
"A week," said Bal, "to settle their problems? They've had 2 world wars in 1 generation, and that the third and final one is coming up. You can't help feeling in everything they do."
"It won't take much,"
said Ethaniel.
"The wrong diplomatic move or a trigger-happy soldier could set it off, and it wouldn't have to be deliberate. A meteor shower could pass over, and their clumsy instruments could interpret that as an all-out enemy attack."
"Too bad," said Bal. "We'll just have to forget there ever was such a planet as Earth."
"Could you forget so many people?"
"I'm doing it," said Bal. "Just give them a little time, and they won't be here to remind me that I have a conscience."
"My memory isn't convenient,"
said Ethaniel.
"I ask you to look at them."
Bal rustled, flicking the screen intently. "Very much like ourselves," he said at last. "A bit shorter, perhaps. Most certainly incomplete, except for the one thing they lack. And that's quite odd. They seem exactly like us. Is that what you wanted me to say?"
"It is. The fact that they are an incomplete version of ourselves touches me. They actually seem defenseless, though I suppose they're not."
"Tough," said Bal. "Nothing we can do about it."
"There is. We can give them a week."
"In a week we cannot negate their entire history. We can't begin to undo the effect of the big bomb."
"You can't tell,"
said Ethaniel.
"We can look things over."
"And then what? How much of authority do we have?"
"Very little,"
conceded Ethaniel.
2 minor officials on the way to Willifors, and we run directly into a problem no one knew existed."
"And when we get to Willifors, we'll be busy. It will be a long time before anyone comes this way again."
"A very long time. There's nothing in this region of space our people want,"
said Ethaniel.
"And how long can Earth last? 10 years? Even 10 months? The tension is building by the hour."
"What can I say?" said Bal. "I suppose we can stop and look them over. We're not committing ourselves by looking." They went much closer to Earth, not intending to commit themselves. For a day they circled the planet, avoiding radar detection, which for them was not difficult, testing and sampling. Finally, Ethaniel looked up from the monitor screen.
"Any conclusions?"
"What's there to think? It's worse than I imagined."
"In what way?"
"Well, we knew they had the big bomb. Atmospheric analysis showed that as far away as we were."
"I know."
We also knew that they could deliver the big bomb, presumably by some sort of aircraft.
That was almost a certainty. They'd have no use for the big bomb without aircraft.
What's worse is that now I find they also have missiles, range 1,000 miles and upward. They either have or are near a primitive form of space travel.
Bad,
said Nathaniel.
Sitting there, wondering when it's going to hit 'em. Nervousness could set it off.
It could, and the missiles make it worse, said Bal. What did you find out at your end?
Nothing worthwhile. I was looking at the people while you were investigating their weapons.
You must think something.
I wish I knew what to think. There's so little time.
Nathaniel said.
Language isn't the difficulty. Our machines can translate their languages easily, and I've taken a cram course in 2 or 3 of them. But that's not enough. Looking at a few plays, listening to advertisements, music, news bulletins. I should go down and live among them, read books, talk to scholars, work with them, play.
You could do that, and you'd really get to know them, but that takes time, and we don't have it.
I realize that.
A flat yes or no, said Bal.
No, we can't help them, said Nathaniel. There is nothing we can do for them, but we have to try.
Sure, I knew it before we started, said Bal. It's happened before. We take the trouble to find out what a people are like. When we can't help them, we feel bad. It's going to be like that again. He rose and stretched. Well, give me an hour to think of some way of going at it. It was longer than that before they met again. In the meantime, the big ship moved closer to Earth. They no longer needed their instruments to see it. The planet revolved outside vision ports. The southern plains were green, coursed with rivers. The oceans were blue, and much of the northern hemisphere was glistening white. Ragged clouds covered the pole, and a dirty pall spread over the mid-regions of the north.
I haven't thought of anything brilliant, said Nathaniel.
Nor I, said Bal. We're going to have to go down there cold, and it will be cold.
Yes, it's their winter.
I did have an idea, said Bal. What about going down as supernatural beings?
Hardly,
said Nathaniel.
100 years ago it might have worked. Today they have satellites. They are not primitives.
I suppose you're right, said Bal. I did think we ought to take advantage of our physical differences.
If we could, I'd be all for it. But these people are rough and desperate. They wouldn't be fooled by anything that crude.
Well, you're calling it, said Bal.
All right,
said Nathaniel.
You take one side, I'll take the other. We'll tell them bluntly what they have to do if they're going to survive, how they can keep their planet in one piece so they can live on it.
Oh, that'll go over big. Advice is always popular.
Can't help it. That's all we have time for.
Special instructions?
None. We leave the ship here and go down in separate landing craft. You can talk with me any time you want through our communications, but don't unless you have to.
They can't intercept the beams we use.
They can't. Even if they did, they wouldn't know what to do with our language. I want them to think that we don't need to talk things over.
I get it. Makes us seem better than we are. They think we know exactly what we're doing, even though we don't.
If we're lucky, they'll think that.
Bal looked out of the port at the planet below. It's going to be cold where I'm going. You too. Sure we don't want to change our plans and land in the southern hemisphere? It's summer there.
I'm afraid not. The great powers are in the north. They are the ones we have to reach to do the job.
Yeah, but I was thinking of that holiday you mentioned. We'll be running straight into it. That won't help us any.
I know. They don't like their holidays interrupted. It can't be helped. We can't wait until it's over.
I'm aware of that, said Bal. Fill me in on the holiday. Anything I ought to know? Perhaps religious in origin, that's so?
It was religious long time ago, said Nathaniel. I didn't learn anything exact from radio and TV. Now it seems to be chiefly a time for eating, office parties, and selling merchandise.
I see. It has become a business holiday.
That's a good description. I didn't get as much of it as I ought to have had. I've been busy studying the people, and they're hard to pin down.
I see. I was thinking that there might be some way we could tie ourselves in with this holiday. Make it work for us.
If there is, I haven't thought of it.